My ISTA 322 final project. My goal for this project is to compare the health inspection data from restaurants such as Health Inspection Store and Health Grade to the ratings of restaurants in New York City. I'm getting my data from Yelp API and this government website which contains New York City health inspection results. First thing I did was mount to Google Drive and install the Yelp API. So after I did that, I began flattening my JSON data from Yelp. I ran 11 different Yelp search queries to get a well-rounded data set of New York City restaurants. Set the location in New York, and I limited it to 50 because Yelp had some limits associated with it. And then I began printing all my data out just to get a good feel for my data and see what I'm working with. So then after I do this, I put them all into New York City restaurants, do 2 simple renames, and I drop the irrelevant location information. And then I'm left with this. Then after I do this, some simple reformatting, and I got rid of any restaurant name duplicates, and I was left with 521. So the next form of data I'm working with is the CSV file, which contains health inspection data from up to 3 years ago to present day. So I pull that from my Google Drive, make a backup so I don't lose any data, and I begin cleaning. So I drop irrelevant location and census columns, do a couple renames, format it the way pandas would, and I drop duplicate restaurant names. Then I look at my data, make sure it all looks good. Then I begin making the inspections data frame, which contains important inspection columns, such as store, grade, restaurant name, inspection ID, inspection date, inspection type, violation description, and critical flag. Because I'm comparing health store to Yelp ratings, if the restaurant does not have a store, I dropped it. And then here I noticed that the health grade is either inaccurate or doesn't have one. So here you can see 35 doesn't have a health grade. And here there's a store of 2 with a health grade of N. I found that kind of funny, so I looked up how New York City does their health grades, and kind of like golf, the lower the score, the better. So 0 to 13 is a A, 14 to 27 is a B, and 28 or higher is a C. So I made this function, and then I add a health grade column with the accurate health grade. Then I drop the grade column because this is inaccurate. And then I merge the inspections DF with the New York City restaurants based on restaurant name. Then I perform an inner merge to find matching restaurants based on restaurant name. So data that is in both the CSV and in the New York City restaurants. And that left me with 264 restaurants. And then I began loading it into AWS using the basic functions we did in class over here. And then I began making my table. So this is my schema table, which has restaurants, health inspections, and Yelp ratings. So here my restaurants table has restaurant ID, name, address, city, zip code, and restaurant type. And after a couple renames, it looks like this. Then I made my Yelp ratings table, which has restaurant ID, rating, review count, price type, categories. And after 2 renames, my table looked like this. Then I made a health table, or a health inspections table, which took restaurant ID, inspection ID, violation description, inspection date, store, grade, inspection type, critical flag. And after 1 simple rename, my table looked like this. And then I began making some test queries. So the first query was which restaurants have a near perfect health inspection score. So I said a score of 3 or less, and I found these 17 restaurants. Which restaurants had a grade B or higher in health inspection, and I found all of these restaurants, in which there were 205 of them. Then I asked if Korean food has a better average score than Mexican food, and they were both about the same, but Mexican restaurants had a slightly better average, but the sample isn't large enough to accurately conclude that. Then which restaurants have a health inspection grade at A and a 4 or 5 or higher in average Yelp reviews, and I found all of these, in which there's 47. Then I asked which restaurants have a 500 Yelp reviews in a grade C or lower in health inspections, and I found these 22. Then I did some graphs, made health inspection grade versus Yelp rating, in which this graph wasn't that helpful. So I made health inspection store versus Yelp rating, And this is some correlation, but it's not that strong. And then I made health inspection store versus Yelp review count, and still not a strong correlation. So I wouldn't say that there's a strong correlation between health inspection store and Yelp reviews. That's my project.